Welcome, Empireeneurs. This is New Money, about to be Old Money, Nicole, and very excited to report to you from DC Fintech Week. Of course, we have amazing thought leaders in both the fintech and regulatory space that's going to be speaking to us this week in DC at on site at Amazon. Of course, we're able to tune in as well via online. So excited to share some updates from the wonderful Mr. Paul Atkins, who is our new SEC chair. For everyone in crypto, we're super excited about that. So happy that he has replaced Gary Gensler. Although we are going to give Gary Gensler his props for allowing us a little bit more time to accumulate these fantastic crypto assets. However, of course, we needed to make sure that we are moving right along with when it comes to regulation for crypto assets. So very happy that Mr. Paul Atkins is now the SEC chair. So we're going to cover everything from security innovation to super app, making IPOs great again, and possible new accreditor investor standard coming, which is going to be my highlight of today's conversation. So so we're going to start with the fact that we've had problems in the past. Like I mentioned, we know that America was 10 years, if not more, behind when it comes to digital assets, and mostly it was due to the regulatory environment that was surrounding the space. We know it was very hostile. We just knew that a lot of projects were being placed on hold. A lot of other companies were being sued. I mean, for no apparent reason. It was just really sad. There was a lot of regulations by enforcement. So very refreshing to have actual SEC chairs in place here who understands the past but are working currently to improve the future. So, their goal, and this is per Mr. Paul Atkins, is to attract businesses back to the US. Of course, a lot of companies did leave. There were other countries out there who were more accepting of fintechs, and thus they left. And so now we actually have a welcoming and friendly environment when it comes to digital assets. So we want to bring those companies back to the US. And I loved how he stated that the SEC should be named Security and Innovation Commission because they are innovative in their thoughts and also in their actions. And we're going to speak a little bit more about the tech that's surrounding that as well, too. He says regulatory is no longer dead. They are not here to stifle innovation, but to support it. So that is really great. Another thing that was a great question. And of course, the question came from Chris Brummer, who has put on this wonderful DC FinTech. He does this annually and does a fantastic job. So just want to shout him out and give some kudos to him because this was also a wonderful discussion that he had with Mr. Paul Atkins, whom he knows personally. But the question was, how can we embed innovation into regulatory agency? And, Mr. Atkins started with, first we have to acknowledge that there is a problem. Isn't that what they always say? If you want to fix anything in your life, you have to be honest and say, we have a problem. You have to admit that there is a missing piece. You have to admit that your internal functions, the process was broken. He actually admitted they didn't have any. The project management system was basically non-existent. So now he does have a goal for there to be like a take a number process where, like, if you go to a deli and then you take a number, then they call us your number, then you're next in line. Because right now people didn't know where they stood in line. They didn't know who was next, what was expected of them, where we're headed, what the process is. So we're going to have all of that together. That is what they're working on now. Also, he's open to new ideas, whereas our past regulators were not open to any new ideas. They were against innovation. So I really like how he stated that he is delegating a lot of these tasks over to Hester Pierce, the crypto mom, and then also Mark T. Ueda. Okay, he says they are all in sync. I love that. Unity is very powerful. They can tackle the problems. He doesn't have to do everything. They are all moving on one accord, so he trusts them to be able to complete their portion of moving us forward. And of course, he did reassure us, this is a digital assets conference, right? A fintech conference. So we're all have our ears up, when we hear anything about crypto. But again, he did want to let us know that crypto is number one when it comes to the new SEC. Okay, he says again, like he stated, like I stated earlier, that we must catch up. We're 10 years behind. I remember when I was a part of the DLT Talents cohort, and I was the only American in that particular cohort 8. And I would always get a little flack, they were real fun, but they were just like, Nicole, what's going on with America? Because other countries were just rocking and rolling, and here is America just sitting on the sidelines, just still, not even moving, right? And so it's just very refreshing now. If I were to have those same conversations again, that I can actually say that, no, we're moving forward. And just like President Trump said, he wants to be the crypto leader of the world. So we are moving right along with that agenda. So let's see here. So again, he just reassured that his team is working around the clock. They're full time, working around the clock. They're also in the process of creating a super app. So this is going to, something that can be across multiple agencies. So everyone doesn't have to go to each individual agency to request whatever information is needed or to register with each particular agency. They're all about streamlining the process. And so that is fantastic. So we are going to be on the lookout for that super app, which is just going to help all the fintechs, move very quickly with any type of regulatory, details that may be needed with any of their projects. I also like how he said, make IPOs great again. There was a decline of public markets and a rise of private markets. So when it comes to the IPO, they do have a plan in place to get everything accelerated with that, lessen the regulatory burden. And again, that is fantastic. Now, they're not saying that they're just going to erase everything, to make it super easy. They still are going to have complete, really great guidelines in place, but they are here to lessen the regulatory burden. Okay. So now I want to talk about the accredited investor standard. Really excited about this portion right here. And the reason why I'm excited about this is because last week, I attended both TexCap and NABS. And in one of the panels for NABS, this is a big concern for investors, with the requirement as of today that you currently have to be an accredited investor in order to invest in some of these private projects. And so it was very talked about there last week. So it was great to hear again from Paul Atkins on this. So I'm just going to read this. But Paul Atkins, chairman of the SEC, announced that the accredited investor standard is currently under review. At present, accreditation is determined primarily by wealth and income, equating financial status with investment sophistication. However, some experts argue for the creation of an investor license, similar to a driver's license that certifies knowledge rather than net worth. And I want to break that down a little bit more as well, because why is that so important? Well, right now, let me go here. Let's see if I still have it up. Let's see if I still have it up. I don't believe I have it up, but that's okay. I just want to say currently right now, when it comes to being an accredited investor, the guidelines are you must have either $1 million for net worth, and this excludes your primary house. So that knocks out a lot of Americans because their home is their greatest net worth. Or you must have an annual income of $200,000 for individuals or $300,000 for couples. And so I want to share this screen by Fidelity. Again, those requirements knocks out a lot of people from being able to qualify for being an accredited investor, because as you can see here under key takeaways, they say according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, American workers made a median wage of $1,194 per week. This is very recent in 2025, which would add up to $62,088 per year. That's for one person. So even if you had two people, that's still just $124,000 roughly, right? And so that's still going to be under the $300,000 per year that's required for a couple. So that means that all those individuals have done their research, because they are assuming that just because you don't make that money that you're not sophisticated researchers or and don't know how to invest. But of course we know that people are. That means you wouldn't be able to take part in those particular projects. So and of course you have to have made that money for the past 2 years, except expect the same for the following year. So what I really love here, and I'm going to go share you this next screen here. And I was really happy to hear SEC Chair Atkins speak about this. But he did speak to the executive order, okay, democratizing access to alternative assets for 401k investors, that was signed by President Trump on August the 7th, 2025. Now, for everybody who's been following EMPIRENEURS, we have talked about this, but I love the fact, I always love to hear when people who are truly involved in the process are speaking about it. It's just not something you're reading about or hearing a podcaster talk about or a news reporter. We're actually hearing from the people that are in control of this rollout, actually speaking about it, and not just speaking about it, but saying that they're taking actions to get this done. That is very reassuring. But the President Trump, in collaboration with the Department of Labor, is exploring ways to allow a portion of individual investors access to private funds, enabling exposure to private companies through 401ks and IRAs. And as you can see here, I wanted you to see what the alternative investments consist of. Give me 1 second here. All right. So there we go. Scope of alternative investments. So if, once we get everything squared away, because they're currently working on this, right? And we'll talk a little bit about some of the items that they're concerned about. But these are 6 categories of alternative investments. Number 1, private market investments, direct and indirect interest in equity, debt, and other financial instruments not traded on public exchanges, again, for the private companies. This is fantastic news because so much is happening behind the scenes that you're just not aware of. And those valuations increase. Let's just say there was $100 per share, and then it goes up to $300 per share, and by the time it goes public, it may be $450 per share, and you have to buy it at $450, but you could have bought it at $100. So that is really exciting. Real estate, direct and indirect interest, including debt instruments. Another fantastic alternative investment to invest in or look at. Number 3, actively manage investment vehicles, investing in digital assets. Ding, ding, ding. Again, this is the whole purpose of the conference. Digital assets. So one thing that I will say about this, a lot of people today, when you speak about crypto, the underlying bearing asset, all right, so the actual Bitcoin, the actual Ethereum, the actual XRP, the actual Solana, that's very foreign to them, so they may not be comfortable investing in the underlying bearing asset. However, they are comfortable with investing in ETFs. So as you have already seen, for the last few months, we've been talking about that. And this is what this particular executive order now allows, is for the ETFs, for these crypto ETFs to be included now in the 401ks and IRAs and things of that nature, which is awesome. So next is commodities, direct and indirect investments. Again, we have those gold ETFs, silver ETFs, all right? Projects financing, infrastructure development, direct and indirect interest. Wow, now we can actually invest in infrastructure development projects? That's fantastic. Or it's coming, I should say. It's coming, guys. Lifetime income investment strategies, including longevity risk sharing pools. So this is like your life insurance annuities, your traditional annuities. Okay. So this is pretty amazing there. So just wanted to let you know that this is coming. So he did want to state that there will be guardrails, very strong guardrails in place, okay, including accurate liquidity assessment and valuations and consideration of lifestyle funds. For example, He did give the example of, an 85-year-old investor who may want to invest in a private company, but it may take the fund 25 years to mature. Well, that's not going to really work for that 85-year-old investor, correct? So we have to make sure that not only is everything, is going to be, I should say, will work well for those investors who normally wouldn't be, traditional accredited investors, but also that the valuations are correct. We don't want anyone to just make up some evaluations for their companies that we've seen in the past, right? So probably wouldn't be based on speculation, but something that has actually been realized is what I'm gathering from that. So if implemented, this policy could open doors to greater portfolio diversification and stronger investor protection, reshaping access to private market opportunities. This is such a game changer. I'm shaking everybody, guys. I'm shaking you guys. This is such a game changer because for a lot of us investors, like this is just gonna open the door for additional wealth because there are, I can't say everyone are excellent researchers, but there's a good number of us, you guys, who are great researchers. We're taking getting those certifications. A lot of us have degrees in various programs, so it's kind of like we already know what to do. We just need the regulatory road to agree with us or to allow us the opportunity to invest, in certain projects that are private. So that is actually what I wanted to speak to you guys today. The last thing he did talk about too, of course, was tokenization. We're going to hear more about that leading into tomorrow, and I will speak more about that too. But tokenization of everything. I mean, real estate, everything is about to really take off. So just having strong compliance surrounding that is going to be very helpful into the mass adoption of tokenization. Also, they did have a fantastic question. Let's see here. How can institutions adopt DeFi, right? Because traditionally, we just don't really see it like that. But they stated that we need to get DeFi, TradFi ready. Again, having a clear roadmap about policy is going to help with that transition, or I should say that collaboration between DeFi and TradFi. So we'll just keep a lookout for what's coming when it comes to that. But you guys, let's get in position. All right, let's get in position to win when it comes to investing in private companies, because that is being looked at. And I'm praying that everything will be solidified hopefully this year, or at least early next year in 2026. But at the end of the day, it is coming. So thanks so much for that recap with Mr. Paul Atkins, SEC Chair. I will be bringing you more information from day one, so stay tuned. Again, you can always follow us online, EMPIRENEURSDeFi.io. The next cohort for winter semester is listed. So if you weren't able to join us for this fall semester and our cohort, you all is on fire. Woo! Definitely sign up, only $99 for 12 weeks. It's fantastic. You're going to be so ready when it comes to DeFi. And then plus, we also have an Expand Your Mind series. It is just opening up everyone's mind to all of the technology, AI, everything that's happening, to where you can figure out what's best for you and your family to invest in these projects. And let's start creating generational wealth for our heirs, because if we don't do it, they will not have it. All right, we'll talk to you soon. You take care, and definitely share, like, and subscribe.